Hey everyone, welcome to Inside Indiana Overtime. John Bauernfeind, Alex McCarthy. Um, Assembly Hall, where it used to be a home court advantage for
Ooh.
Indiana. Ouch. But they lost two in a row here tonight. Or they lost their second game in a row here tonight to Iowa, 77-63, in a game that, yeah, it was a double-digit loss, and it looked like it could have been even worse.
Should have been worse, probably.
Yeah. It was the first time that, and obviously Indiana lost to Purdue here the last time that Indiana was home, and it's the first time since March of 2011 that Indiana's lost back-to-back games in this building, and I guess it's just kind of a sign of what's going on maybe with this team. They've lost three in a row. They've lost, what was it, 7 of 11, something like that.
7-11.
And they haven't won back-to-back games.
Two in a row. They lost to Purdue and then beat Rutgers.
Yeah, that's right. They lost 3 of 4. That's right.
But I mean, 6 days off and you get this type of performance.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't start off terribly.
No.
I believe they held a 4-point lead in the early onsets of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Made 3 of their first 4 3-pointers.
Yeah, they were like 8 for 14 in their first 10 minutes.
Yeah, and then went on to miss the next 8 3-pointers, and just looked really, really bad tonight.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, they had 6 days off, and I wouldn't have expected this performance. Granted, Iowa's like every team Indiana plays is bigger, but they really let it affect them tonight.
Yeah, and it just seemed like at a certain point, Hunter Pere hit a layup with 10:15 left, and then it seemed like after that point, the last 10 minutes of the half, and then for a lot of the second half, Indiana just wasn't able to move on offense. Either move the ball or move themselves. Really, it was a lot was left up to kind of trying to get guys like James Blackman and Yogi Ferrell and even Stan Robinson to try and drive and do something on offense. I mean, it must have been massively frustrating, for the IU fans here, to watch that and to try and kind of, you could feel the energy in this building just kind of urging them to just do something, hit a shot, make something. And it just never happened for Indiana. They came out of the gates in the second half and made a three-pointer. James Blackman had a 3, and then Iowa went on an 8-0 run, and from then on it was kind of not necessarily out of hand, but not pretty.
And the offense seemed so good and played so well. Some at points this season just looked really, really bad. Even going back to the Purdue game in the Northwestern, the second half of that game, it just looked awful. And where IU really struggles is when teams, not only are they bigger down low, but especially with bigger guards. Yogi Ferrell's one of the better point guards in the nation and maybe the best in the Big Ten, but guys like James Blackman Jr. and Rob Johnson, they're freshmen, and they're not strong enough to get by these guards like, for instance, Peter Jackson Hyde and even Mike Gazelle, and they just can't do it, and they can't get penetration, and that's really where they struggle tonight.
Yeah, and guys who have been as reliable as anything for Indiana. You mentioned Yogi not really being able to do much on offense.
He struggled.
Yeah, he was 3 for 11 from the floor, and it seems like the last couple years, when Indiana gets in trouble, especially late, when the offense isn't moving, when things are going well, that's when Yogi is kind of at his best, when he kicks it into a higher gear. He was 1 for 7 from the floor in the second half, 3 turnovers, 2 assists. I think he played the whole second half. I think he was on the court for basically every second of the half, but just wasn't able to really get going, wasn't able to do anything. And Troy Williams has been carrying this team as of late, in terms of energy. Yeah, 3 for 13 from the floor.
He missed layups and dunks, and I don't think he took a 3-pointer, but he probably would have missed that too. Really, that's bad. Really struggled today, and Indiana kind of has a big 3, if you want to say. I guess you can't really call them that, but Troy Williams and James Blackman and Yogi, and they're the team's best scorers, probably the team's best players.
Yeah.
But when they don't perform well, or one of them doesn't perform well, they struggle. When 2 don't play well, they really struggle, and when 3 struggle, you get blown out at home.
Yeah.
So where does this leave IU? They're 19-11 overall, 9-8 in the Big Ten, and they're definitely not in the tournament as we speak. I don't know.
Yeah, they're definitely on the bubble right now. Especially if they lose to Michigan State on Saturday. I thought this was maybe an easy. Well, I don't know. Both of these games are kind of tough matchups for IU, but it's a must-win on Saturday. This was kind of a must-win. It was at least close to a must-win.
You'd like to have it.
Yeah, you'd really, really like to have it, and they didn't have it tonight, and they have to have it Saturday at noon. They have to be able to build some energy. It's clear that lately in Assembly Hall, it's just there isn't that extra gear that it really goes to. In terms of, loudness, in terms of just kind of overall intimidation factor. And Indiana's going to have to create its own energy and figure out something, on both ends of the court. I mean, the offense, like you said, really hasn't looked good in the past couple games. Obviously, that Rutgers win, it's Rutgers.
Yeah.
But the defense hasn't been great all year, especially in conference play. The offense needs to be great, and it hasn't been. And they're going to need to find production somewhere. And Nick Zeisloft, he was great. He was 5 for 7. He hit 5 threes.
The only guy who played a decent game.
Yeah, but you can't have the only person who really shows up on offense be a guy off the bench. I don't know. What do you think, John? Where is this team?
First, I think Indiana's pretty much locked in the 7th seed.
Yeah.
In the Big Ten race now. Even if they do lose to Michigan State, I believe Illinois will have the same. I forget, but I think Indiana's more or less in the 7th seed, so they'll play on Thursday against the 10th seed. You have to win that game, if not the Michigan State game. I mean, you can't lose to Michigan State and then lose to Minnesota and expect to get in and be at 19 and 13. Do I think this is an NCAA tournament team? I tend to side with some people, some IU fans that are getting mad at Joe Lunardi, who after tonight had him at his one of his last 4 teams in. I think winning your non-conference games like SMU and Butler and even Pittsburgh to some amount are, they're good non-conference wins. You have Maryland, Ohio State, but you have to win some games. You have to reach 20 wins. You can't lose like 4 of your last 5 out of your last 6 and expect to get in. This is way different than the 07 team with the Calvin Sampson thing. But remember, that team ended up losing at Penn State before the Big Ten tournament. Blake Hoffarber hits that shot, and they get a 9 seed in the NCAA tournament, 8 or 9 seed, and get blown out by Arkansas in the first round. And they would have got blown up by North Carolina the game later. But that's really where this team is at. In all honesty, IU's best hope is to probably get I want to say like a 10 seed and play like a 7 seed, like San Diego State, who doesn't score a whole lot, and then get Gonzaga.
Yeah.
And that's really their best case scenario.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. Their bats are definitely against the wall, but we'll be here again Saturday, see what they can do against Michigan State. For now, thanks for watching, and you have a good rest of your week.